Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the How to Score the Company Commander 2 worksheet. So the thing you need to start with is the Mega Mech lobby. Prior to playing your game, you need to grab your list. So I'm going to start with the clan player. For those of you that don't know, this is the compact view. You can do it in the non-compact view. It just takes up way more space. So Control C. I'm going to do compact view again. Control C, and then you go into you open the CC2 score worksheet. Make your own copy of this file. You will need it later. Click in the first unit box, Control V, and just like that, your whole list shows up in the box. Now, go back and then grab the inner sphere side. Copy. And again, click in the first unit box for the inner sphere side and paste. So, you'll see that all of the units are in here, and now we have to figure out, okay, you have gone and played your game, you have saved your game log, you have saved the entity status, you have saved all the other bits and pieces that you need to submit in your log to Celestin, and now you need to figure out, okay, did I actually win the game or did I just think I won the game? So over here on the right side, there's different statuses that your units should be in. So for this game, my Mad Dog, I refuse to use the Surratt names, my Mad Dog had the pilot flee, but the mech was destroyed. So pilot flee. So this guy was able to flee. This one fled. This one fled. This one fled. Same here. This poor guy was destroyed. So is he, and so is this one. But these battle armor were able to get picked up and made it off the table. This Griffin survived. This Black Hawk survived. Kage battle armor survived. Locust made it off. This Komodo, his pilot was able to flee, but his machine was busted. This Griffin, however, he got destroyed. Firestarter was able to flee. Kage also fled. This Griffin fled. This Komodo fled. And this Warrior Attack Helicopter got waxed. So, all of these units need to have a value in one of these three columns. So, in order to figure out where we put those, we need to figure out, okay, who does the unit belong to? If it's a Smoke Jaguar unit, you go to the top box. If it's a DCMS unit, you go to the bottom box. So if, for this mission, my unit was able to flee, and for the DCMS, if you didn't actually escape, then you survived the battle, you controlled the battlefield at the end of the game. That is the same thing as flee, and survive and flee are equivalent to each other. You were able to leave the battlefield, you just chose not to. So if the Smoke Jaguar player was successful in fleeing the battlefield, like all of these guys were, plus that one, change that real quick, all of those units, they all get counted battle value for CSJ. So now I need to put their battle value into the appropriate column. Make sure you don't fat finger this because it creates a headache for us later. This poor guy was destroyed, so he's going to be counted in a moment. Let's finish the guys who were able to successfully do their job. Alright, going back to the top. The pilot was able to flee, so his BV goes over here in the neither category because Smoke Jaguars don't get to count it as getting off the table successfully, but the Draconis Combine don't get to count it because the pilot escaped. So now that pilot gets to be reinforced instead of having to be replaced. So now we're going to go down here to destroyed. And destroyed and captured for the purposes of BV counting they are equal. They are treated the same. So destroyed or captured, the BV calculator is going to do the same thing. So in here, this is going to be negative for the Smoke Jaguar. So it's negative for me. This one's also negative, and so is this guy. But they count as positives for DCMS. Now, you'll notice that this number right here is not the same as that number up there. That's because when the Smoke Jaguar units are destroyed, they get counted at a multiplier for the DCMS. In this mission, it's times 2. So 1771 multiplied by 2 gets 3542. So then we're also going to add in 533 and the 1742. So now it doesn't look so good for the Smoke Jaguars. But here's the other thing that happened. All of these guys, all these flee or pilot flee, all of them, they don't get counted for or against the Smoke Jaguar. They don't get counted for or against the Draconis Combine because their goal wasn't to survive the match, it was to kill the Smoke Jaguars. So, the only ones that actually matter are this guy right here, who was destroyed, and his battle value is positive for the Smoke Jaguars, which is why I'm going to leave this as positive in the gray column and make it negative in the red column. And then over here, down here with this helicopter, again, positive for the Smoke Jaguar and negative for the Draconis Combine. Put in all of the battle values for each of these other units, which you should to make sure that you have everybody where they're supposed to be. Just know that the neither column does not get totaled. Okay, all of the units in the game have a score either for, against, or neither our factions. So in the game that we played, the Smoke Jaguar player won by a relatively small margin. It's about 3,000 battle value. But had the Smoke Jaguar player not destroyed this Griffin and killed the pilot or captured the pilot, this would have turned out differently. Just that one difference would have tipped it in the favor of the Draconis Combine. But fortunately for me, that's not how it worked out. So that's how you score Mission Alpha. Mission Beta, Set2, Zet2, Yamato, and Rivera all have buildings involved. So, you're going to go through the same process from Megamech. You're going to grab your units prior to the game. Do that wonderful copy-paste thing. So, Control C in Megamech, highlight the units. Control V in the spreadsheet. Alt tab back and forth until you get what you need. Copy and back to here. Beta is going to get scored a little bit differently in that you have all the battle value scoring, plus you have buildings that have to be accounted for. So the part you have to input here is how many buildings did the Smoke Jaguars destroy. Leave this black box alone. If you forget for a moment, there's a bunch of red words around the document that tells you not to touch this box. Thank you. So, when you go into your scoring, you figure out, okay, who survived, who didn't survive. I'm going to say that these guys died, that the Dragonfly, it died, and that the Mislinks also died. but so did the command van and the fire starter, and the helicopter had to die. But we're going to also claim that the smoke jaguars destroyed 7 buildings. So that means everybody else was able to flee the battlefield. So now we got to put people's battle values into places that matter. So everybody that's flee, including pilot flee, all of these folks, I don't really care about their battle value because it goes into the neither category. So the ones I'm going to pay attention to are the destroyed assets and the captured folks. So these are the ones I'm going to hone in on. I have to make sure that these people end up in the right places. So if they're destroyed, they are negative for the people who own them, or the people who started with them, and they are positive for the one that killed them. Same thing down here for a captured pilot. This is positive for Smoke Jaguar and negative for the DCMS. And if you're fighting me, you better believe I'm going to be shooting your helicopters. There. Not my favorite things on the table. So here's how the battle value shook out. Because the Viper and the Mistlinks were destroyed, but the command van and the fire starter and the warrior attack helicopter were also destroyed, the Smoke Jaguar didn't kill enough buildings. Had they got one more building, that would have tipped the scale in their favor. So if you only got 7, you know what you need to do. You got to go break one more building to tip the scale in your favor. Now, this is not going to stop you from putting in 11, but you're only supposed to score 10 for Beta, Zetu, and Rivera. Let me go check that real quick. C2 has 2 buildings to get your 10,000 battle value. Delta doesn't have buildings. We'll talk about that one in a moment. Z2 also has 10 buildings. If they destroy no buildings, the Draconis Combine is going to get 10,000 battle value. So, Smoke Jag, make sure you break the buildings because that's your goal. But the only value you're going to change is how many the Smoke Jaguars broke. Let's talk about Delta for a moment. It's the same process from Megamech. I have too many things open. Here we go. The difference is this would be another Nova and 2 more Lances. Hopefully. Or hopefully not, depending on how you think about it. So I'm going to grab the Nova. I'm going to throw it in here. But you'll notice that there's a Nova Commander 1 and Nova Commander 2. Well, let's bring the other guys in. And for the purposes of this video, both of my commanders are... I'm going to cut and I'm going to paste. So that way I don't have duplicate scores in here for my Nova commanders. I'm going to do the same thing with my Lance commanders. Copy from Megamech, throw it into the score sheet. I'm duplicating the list because I don't have the other one available. But I also know that this Griffin is a commander. So I'm going to cut it out of there and I'm going to paste it there. I also know that this Locust is a commander. based on their what's it called? Based on their skill. So let's say for the purposes of this video that both of my Novas actually only have one commander because the other guy died and I didn't bother to replace him. And then the same thing kind of happened over here with the Draconis Combine. There's a Locust and a Griffin commanders, but the other two Lances don't have their commanders. Because you couldn't afford to replace them, because you didn't have enough RSP. Whatever it happens to be. The point it makes in here is if they die, so this becomes negative 4496 for me, and a positive 4496 for the Draconis Combine. But guess what? The commander is worth a bucket of points. So it's just the value as a negative, but it's 4 times the value if the other guy kills him. So don't lose your commander, because that's a big deficit. And that's an expensive unit. If you lose your Locust commander, that's much less of a problem. That would be negative 877. It changed my score by quite a bit. Didn't change the Draconis Combine by very much. But make sure you get your Lance commanders in here correctly. So now I'm going to back up and get rid and move all that stuff out of there. When you make your own file, make sure that all of this here in the white, you can delete all day long. Nothing bad is going to happen at all with these numbers. If you decide to go from this gray box all the way down to this white box and press delete, well, for those of you familiar with the alphabet, it doesn't go J, M, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V. There's some stuff in there, so don't do that. If you do, you get rid of all of the hidden values in here that make the thing function. Please don't delete them. They're not terrible to put back, they're just annoying. So whenever you go to clear this out, do it vertically, each column. And then you won't have problems. Thank you. Okay, if you have questions, ask. If you can't get a hold of Celestian, find me, Andrew Descartes. I will be happy to answer your questions as best I can in regards to this score sheet. If there's something going on with the game, don't bother me. I'm not the TO. That's Celestian. You got questions about the Excel spreadsheet, that you can come bother me about. If you fat-fingered something and you're afraid that you broke it, reach out. I'll help you. Thank you very much for watching.